Today's news highlights. Date April 8, 2025. News highlights: Trump's announcement of the reciprocal tariff policy triggered a global stock market crash, and Taiwan stocks fell by a record 2,065 points on the 7th, and more than 1,700 stocks fell to the limit, including TSMC, Honhai, and other weighted stocks, and telecom and supermarket stocks were relatively resistant. The government launched rescue measures, the National Security Fund was on standby, and the world's major stock markets fell sharply at the same time. News highlights: the South Korean government is expected to make a decision at the April 9 cabinet meeting on June 3 as the day of the presidential by-election, which will be announced by acting President Han Byung-soo. Yoon Suk-yeol was ousted after martial law was promulgated, and a new president must be elected within 60 days. If approved, the candidate will be registered by May 11 at the latest, and the candidate will take office immediately. News highlights: on April 7, Trump met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to discuss tariffs and the war in Gaza. Netanyahu said that he would lift tariffs on the United States, hoping to set an example for other countries. Trump's emphasis on not considering suspending tariffs and continuing negotiations with a number of countries has sent global stock markets through turmoil. News highlights: Taiwan stocks fell 2,065 points, or nearly 10%, yesterday, causing the market to pay attention to whether the Goan Fund will enter the market to protect the market. Although some of the entry conditions have been met, such as the stock market crash fell by more than 20% and the price-to-earnings ratio was compressed to 14 times, it was still 4,000 points away from the 10-year line, and the time was not ripe. The legal person reminded that although the announcement of the National Security Fund has the effect of boosting confidence, it still depends on the fundamental performance in the medium and long term. News highlights: Trump's new tariff policy has hit the AI industry, and most of the components needed for data center construction are imported from China, which may be subject to tariffs of up to 34%, resulting in rising costs. The plans of technology giants such as Microsoft and Amazon may be delayed, and AI services such as ChatGPT may increase in price in the future, and Taiwan's heavy electric manufacturers will also be affected. News highlights: Taiwan stocks plunged 2,065 points yesterday, hitting the assets of tech billionaires hard. Honhai founder Terry Go's net worth shrank by 26.1 billion yuan in a single day, and Zhang Zongmu lost 11.75 billion yuan. Quantalin Bailey shrank by nearly 10 billion yuan, and Mediatek CAI Mingxia decreased by more than 5.8 billion yuan. A number of tech giants were hit hard by the Black Monday and suffered a total loss of more than $50 billion. News highlights: nationwide anti-Trump demonstrations broke out in the United States on the 5th, with more than 600,000 people taking to the streets to protest against the Trump administration's policies such as cutting social welfare, academic freedom, and democratic institutions. The crowd raises hands off. Slogans against tariffs, layoffs, and healthcare reform. Polls showed that Trump's approval ratings had slipped, sparking intense unease about his second term. News highlights: Taishan Financial Holdings announced yesterday that it will distribute a cash dividend of 0.9 yuan per share for 2024, with a cash yield of 5.8%, the highest among the announced financial holdings. After the merger, shareholders of Taishan Gold and Shinkong Gold will receive dividends, which are expected to be paid at the end of August or early September. Lin Weihun, general manager of Taishan Gold, said that the cash dividend distribution this time will avoid excessive expansion of share capital and maintain the adequacy rate of financial holding capital. As for whether to buy back the treasury shares, he pointed out that the current funds will be concentrated on the capital increase of subsidiaries and the redemption of special shares. News highlights: Trump pressured the world with tariffs, and Taiwan lacked the bargaining chips and initiative, only subsidizing enterprises and not seeing diplomatic means. Compared with Vietnam's active negotiation for tax cuts, Taiwan played the TSMC Trump card too early and was afraid of losing its negotiating advantage. Taiwan should strengthen its non-US supply chains, take into account both its US and cross-strait strategies, and avoid being fully kidnapped by U.S. China wrestling. News highlights: the Asian Credit Default Exchange, CDs, contract posted its biggest gain since 2020 amid fears of a recession triggered by Trump's trade war and led to a sell-off in the junk bond market. Spreads on high-rated bonds in Asia widened, especially in the dry port market. Investors' risk of corporate default increases, and the credit market reflects the risk of economic recession. In contrast, the U.S. Treasury market has become the preferred choice for safe haven capital inflows, and the price of Treasury bonds has risen. Trump, for his part, continues to defend his tariff policy, ignoring market panic. News highlights: the United States imposed a 32% reciprocal tariff on Taiwan, which has aroused concern. President Lai Ching-duke stressed that he will not take retaliatory measures, is willing to start negotiations with zero tariffs, and will expand purchases from the United States. The White House confirmed that Taiwan has taken the initiative to contact the U.S. side to start communication. News highlights: many Taiwanese people have become a trend to go to South Korea to fight the Phoenix radio wave because of the cheap price and many choices, but experts remind that if there is a situation during the treatment, changes in air tickets and accommodation, lack of insurance claims and follow-up repair costs may outweigh the losses, and it is still more secure to do it in Taiwan. News highlights Trump's push for reciprocal tariffs triggered a global stock market crash, and Taiwan stocks plummeted by more than 3,000 points in 2 days, setting a record for the largest single-day drop and decline in history, with a market value of 6.6 trillion yuan and an average loss of 500,000 yuan per shareholder. The authorities have introduced measures to ban flat and short sales in order to stabilize the market. News highlights Japanese actress Ryoko Hirose was involved in a news storm and was arrested on suspicion of being rude to a female nurse in the hospital. Japanese media reported that a 44-year-old woman who claimed to be Hirose kicked and scratched a nurse at Shizuoka Hospital and was arrested for assault crimes, and the police are still investigating her true identity. News highlights the Trump administration's imposition of steep tariffs on Chinese and Indian goods has triggered American consumers to rush to buy Apple products such as iPhones and worry about rising prices. Apple Store saw a rush to buy on the eve of tariffs. Apple urgently restocked by air, and considered turning to Brazilian production to diversify risks. News highlights Zheng Zongzhi, a 23-year-old Taiwanese traveler, was promoted to the Major League by the Pittsburgh Buccaneers, becoming Taiwan's 18th and 6th fielder to make it to the major leagues, which happened to be a birthday surprise for his wife. He was back up injured by a teammate and could play against the Cardinals as soon as this morning. News highlights after Trump retaliated by offering unprecedentedly high tariffs to China, Trump threatened to increase the tax rate by another 50%, which may soar to 104%. This tariff war between the United States and China, which does not give in to each other, has aroused great concern around the world. News highlights when the virus season hits, people are crazy to use antibacterial products to prevent the epidemic, but doctors warn that the ingredient containing triclosan may hurt the intestines and increase the risk of bowel cancer. It is recommended to avoid triclosan and triclocarbon when purchasing products, and pay more attention to the method and time of hand washing, and do not have to be superstitious about the antibacterial label. News highlights Japanese actress Ryoko Hirose was sent to the hospital in a car accident and was arrested by the police on suspicion of violence against a nurse in the hospital. Her company issued a statement apologizing, saying that she was injured due to panic and announced a complete suspension of performing arts activities. Scandal-ridden, she once again self-destructed her image. News highlights affected by Trump's high tariffs on China, Taiwan stocks fell by more than 900 points today. 8. TSMC fell below 800 yuan to hit an 11-month low, Hanhai exploded to the limit, and only China Electric bucked the trend to close in the red. Analysts estimate that the market will fluctuate violently in the short term, and the National Security Fund has no plan to enter the market for the time being, and the government plans to go to the United States to negotiate tariff issues. News highlights studies have shown that exercising at night can improve fatty liver and obesity more than in the morning, with the effect of doing more with less. According to Dr. Lee Pak-yin, nighttime exercise can help regulate intestinal flora and reduce liver fat accumulation. It is recommended to change to indoor exercise in the cold winter, which is safe and effective. News highlights the United States imposed 32% tariffs on Taiwan to hit small and medium-sized enterprises hard, and Zhonghua Shenren Textile, which was established for 44 years, announced that it would lay off nearly 2/3 of its employees and may stop work due to customer loss and cost pressure. Chairman Bai Ken-rong said that the tariff shock was more severe than SARS and the new crown, describing it as the final blow. News highlights how Xiao Ziyongqi was originally scheduled to return to TVBS to host a new program, but due to the TV station's personnel slimming plan, the recording progress was delayed, and the recording could not start until June at the earliest. The original team returned to the pot to save the ratings, and the suspension of the cooperation plan was disappointing. News highlights after the trade war between China and the United States heated up and China announced a 34% tariff on the United States, Trump threatened to impose another 50% tariff. China responded in a strong line that if the US insists on going its own way, it will accompany it to the end, and criticized the US as bullying and wrongdoing. News highlights the new shopper, Baitan Shopping Street, has recently been found deserted, and most of the shops have been evacuated due to high rents, high commodity prices, whistleblowing of stalls, and fierce competition from the nearby Yulon City shopping mall. Many people lamented that traditional food is difficult to find, and called for the creation of distinctive old streets to revitalize Baitan tourism. News highlights Trump slammed China for imposing 34% retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods, warning that if it is not withdrawn within the deadline, the U.S. will impose an additional 50% tariff on April 9, bringing the total tax rate to 104%. He also announced that he would suspend talks with China and engage with other countries instead. News highlights Japanese actress Ryoko Hirose was arrested for assaulting a nurse after being sent to the hospital in a car accident, and the police are still verifying her identity. The accident occurred on the Xindongming Expressway, and the photos at the scene showed that the front of the car was completely destroyed, and the impact force was amazing, which aroused heated discussions among netizens. News highlights in retaliation for the U.S. tariffs, China imposed an additional 34% tariff, which caused Trump to be dissatisfied and threatened to impose another 50% tariff on the 9th. China's Ministry of Commerce responded in a tough way, criticizing the US for unilateral bullying and calling for dialogue to resolve the dispute. News highlights Zhang Ziyazai broke the news on a live broadcast last night, accusing his 30-year friend's wife of smearing Su Yunal on guard for a long time, causing her to have a mental breakdown and vomit blood. After he called the police to investigate, he found that one of the black fans was actually the wife of his junior brother, criticized the other party for hypocrisy, and decided to publicly expose the truth. News highlights Trump promoted a reciprocal tariff policy, had intensive phone calls with leaders of many countries, and the White House confirmed that Taiwan had taken the initiative to contact, and the United States said that it would listen to suggestions that are beneficial to U.S. manufacturing and farmers, and continue to promote a tough trade policy. News highlights Tony Leung's Fox Hunt failed miserably at the box office, receiving less than 20 million yuan in 3 days of release, and the loss may be as high as 180 million. The plot was criticized as old-fashioned and logically confusing, and the heroine's setting was too exaggerated and caused controversy, making it difficult for the audience to invest in the plot. News highlights 50-year-old Hong Kong star Wu Wengzhen's breast cancer has recurred and deteriorated to the terminal stage, and he has recently been hospitalized again due to high fever. She confessed that she had despaired, chose to be strong for her 2 daughters, and was determined to live with cancer. The daughter personally gave her a haircut, and the mother-daughter interaction touched netizens, and fans left messages to cheer her on. News highlights Trump's push for reciprocal tariffs detonated a plunge of 2,065 points in Taiwan stocks, a record high. Urologist Liu Junhan shared the correlation between prosperity and fertility decision-making, and the rate of ligation increases when the economy is bad, and the vas deferens reconnection rate increases when the economy is good, reflecting the profound impact of the economy on life choices. News highlights Zhou Zhouxian, a professor at Tsinghua University, plans to take students to Tianjin, China, and arrange for the movie Neza 2 to be seen, a move that has been questioned as a means of China's united front. Chu Chuicheng, chairman of the Mainland Affairs Council, called on schools to be vigilant and abide by the norms of cross-strait exchanges, and stressed that exchanges in China should be registered on the platform of the Education Department to reduce risks and avoid becoming the object of suspicion from the outside world. News highlights Dawin City legislator Niu Xuding has recently attracted attention again because of incidents related to the recall. Han Wang Kaiangwei shared on social media that during the process of collecting the recall signatures, a number of Niu Xuding's classmates showed up, which surprised her and said, "Impossible." This scene sparked heated discussions among netizens, and some netizens ridiculed that the recall station became a Niu Xuding alumni association. In addition, Niu Xuding once responded to the recall of his classmates and called his classmates garbage, which also caused a lot of controversy. The incident drew criticism from supporters of the recall and was discussed online. News highlights after US President Trump announced reciprocal tariffs, the global stock market fell into a panic, and Taiwan stocks also fell sharply on the 7th, falling more than 2,000 points, causing economic instability. Still, Trump seems to have paid no attention to the stock market crash and instead traveled to Florida after the tariff announcement, spending 3 consecutive days on a golf course for a weekend in professional golf. The move sparked a lot of criticism, including CNN's Beautiful anchor Dean's criticism of Trump in a report, saying that he ignored the global economic crisis and still enjoyed the golf game leisurely, which made many people unhappy. News highlights a netizen recently shared a dark inside story about hot pot restaurants, revealing the source of many hot pot restaurant soups. He said that when he was delivering goods for a large hot pot chain, he accidentally entered the kitchen and found that the kitchen was flushed with powder and heated with an induction cooker, which made him doubt the taste of hot pot. He also revealed that he had seen the list of orders sent by the manufacturer by mistake, which included ingredients such as soup powder A, soup powder B, concentrated bonito, and concentrated chicken, which exposed the true source of the soup base of many hot pot restaurants. The original Po finally reminded that if you find that the taste is unusually strong when you enter the restaurant, you may need to change stores to try it. This revelation sparked a heated discussion among netizens, and many people also shared their experiences in other hot pot restaurants. News highlights in the 8 o'clock file Good Luck Comes, actress Su Jianjing played the role of Chen Jianjing to show her superb pole dancing skills, which not only has ultra-difficult hanging upside-down movements, but also her super seductive dancing posture, which opened the audience's eyes. This pole dancing performance even made Zheng Ziyi, who played against her, praise her as a teacher level and called herself dumbfounded. News highlights actor Yu Seung restarted his YouTube channel, admitted that he had made a mistake and accepted judicial sanctions. He said that he would sincerely repent and work hard to make amends, follow the instructions of the prosecutor to complete the compulsory reporting and treatment, and become a better person. Yu thanked the judge for giving him the opportunity to repent, and said that he would continue to share his public welfare adventures and dreams, and that he was willing to accept criticism despite the dissenting voices, apologized to his supporters, and promised to take responsibility for himself and his family. News highlights after 44-year-old Japanese actress Ryoko Hirose was in a car accident on the highway last night. She violently attacked the female nurse, kicked and scratched the other party's arm, and was subsequently arrested. Ryoko Hiroso's agency issued an apology statement, saying she was in a state of panic at the time and said it would suspend all acting activities. She is facing a low ebb in her career recently, and only started singing in Taiwan as the Goddess of Dagong in March. News highlights: Wu Wengzhen, now known as Wu Xingxi, had stage 4 breast cancer and was recently hospitalized due to aggravation. Despite the pain, she is determined to live with cancer and shares her anti-cancer sentiments on social media platforms to thank her supporters for their encouragement. Wu Wengzhen said that after 3 years of fighting cancer, she has learned to accept, let go, and face, and firmly believes that she will get better, and looks forward to doing more meaningful things in the future and living a wonderful second life. News highlights: Xiao Tiantian, Zhang Qun, left Taiwan's entertainment industry last year and went to China to develop her live broadcast career. Recently, she revealed on Facebook that she had a red light on her health, and that she was unable to stand due to stomach cramps, and stressed that she hoped to live a long and healthy life to accompany her daughter. She shared her role as a single mother, returning to the simplest life, and emphasized that she would not miss her daughter's school activities. For the sour people, she called for not affecting the growth of children, and hoped that everyone would remain kind. News highlights: Taiwanese singer Guo Tingjun and her husband Peng Zheng have been married for 6 years and have 2 sons. Recently, she shared on Facebook her thrilling experience of slipping and falling in the bathroom, when the whole person fell hard and hit the ground on her hips, but fortunately her head was not directly hit. Seeing this, her husband Peng Zheng immediately rushed into the bathroom, very nervous and concerned about her, making her feel in love again. Guo Tingjun also laughed at herself if she weighed in the past after weight loss, the consequences may be more serious, and reminded fans to pay attention to home safety. News highlights: Tank, who once sang the popular Exclusive Angel, experienced major medical challenges and successfully completed Asia's first heart-liver simultaneous combined transplantation and regained its life. He was freed from congenital heart disease and thanked the medical staff, family, agency, and organ donors for their support at the discharge press conference. However, when he mentioned Taiwan, he used the term Taiwan province, which attracted the attention of netizens. In 2024, due to the rapid deterioration of his condition, Tank completed the creation and held a concert, and later underwent a successful transplant in Zhejiang, and returned to health after a difficult recovery. News highlights: in the Zhongtian Comprehensive Channel's Classmates Are Coming program, numerologist Zhan Weishong predicted that Jiang might get married in a flash next year, but also reminded her to be careful of fraud, career investment risks and personal safety, especially when going out. She should not act alone. In addition, Jiang was troubled about whether to freeze her eggs, and the doctor told her that her ovaries were atrophying. Eiffel advises her not to have children because it may not inspire maternal love. Zhan Weishong also predicted that guest Gianna would face problems such as small car accidents and real estate disputes next year, and reminded her to pay attention to the trials in her marriage. News highlights: when Wu Shanru recently hosted Miss Bulletin City, she faced a lot of doubts, especially her attitude towards the guests and the ratings of the program. She is also rumored to be a popular candidate for the host of 8,000 Words, and is actively striving for this position. Although Wu Shanru had a lot of controversy, including the resale of public relations products, and almost lost her endorsement, she relied on her own efforts to maintain the relationship. If she takes over 8,000 Words, it will help her maintain her influence in the entertainment industry, although she privately describes the pressure between work and family. News highlights: Douyin internet celebrity and GE Shattering Nian was recently accused of domestic violence by his wife's family, and made public a number of injury examination sheets, showing that Anne's sister-in-law has sought medical treatment many times since last year. When sister-in-law Anne passed away, she was suspected of dying due to domestic violence, and her family criticized brother Anne for disguising the image of his beloved wife. In response, Anko said he had been examined and awaiting a court decision, called for respect for the legal investigation, and said he was under great pressure. This incident has attracted social attention and has had an impact on the image of Ange. News highlights: Japanese actress Ryoko Hiroso was recently sent to the hospital in a car accident, and was arrested for kicking and injuring a female nurse during treatment for falling into a panic. Police pointed out that Ryoko Hiroso lost control of her emotions during treatment, resulting in injuries to the nurse. Her office RH issued a statement apologizing to the victims of the incident, and announced a complete shutdown of work, suspending performing arts activities, and said that it would be responsible for the follow-up. News highlights: 50-year-old Wu Wengzhen, now known as Wu Xingxi, suffered from breast cancer in 2022, which was surgically removed and did not receive further chemotherapy, but relapsed last year, and his condition has deteriorated to stage 4 this year. She once had the idea of waiting for death at home, but for the sake of her daughter, she chose to face it positively. Wu Wengzhen shared his journey against cancer, emphasized the need to live with cancer, and thanked his relatives and netizens for their support. Recently, she was hospitalized again due to high fever, and posted a photo of her daughter giving her a haircut, which touched everyone. News highlights singer Tank received a heart-liver transplant in China in November last year and recently mentioned his gratitude to the motherland, but he used the word Taiwan province when talking about Taiwan, which sparked controversy. Yang Paihua, president of the Kaohsiung Association for Good Living, questioned the origin of Tank's organs, pointing out that China has been involved in live organ harvesting in the past. She criticized Tank as a model for China's United Front, citing China's source of organ transplants and its links to Taiwan, suggesting that Taiwanese organs might also be included in China's organ bank. News highlights Taiwan stocks continued to fall on the 8th, falling below the 10,009 mark at the opening, and TSMC's share price once fell to 797 yuan, losing 800 yuan. Xie Jinhe, chairman of Cakes and Media, issued an analysis, believing that TSMC's ADR has resisted falling in the United States, and the probability of falling again today is not large, and if it falls below 800 yuan, it may be a buying opportunity. He pointed out that TSMC has been growing steadily in a difficult situation for a long time, and the current decline in Taiwan stocks is a good time to review the fundamentals and see this as a possible turning point. News highlights on the evening of the 5th, a 23-year-old woman was tragically killed at Fuzhong station of the Bangqiao MRT, suspected of falling off the track due to mental instability and being hit by a train. According to the police investigation, the deceased was a fourth-year student at National Taiwan University, married and living with her husband in Taipei. After the incident, the woman's mother went north for an examination, and the preliminary results showed that she died of severe injuries to her head and abdomen. The family did not dispute the cause of death and agreed to return the body for further action. News highlights Taiwan stocks have fallen continuously recently, causing heavy losses to investors. Urologist David shared that yesterday he received 2 patients and asked if they could donate sperm or sell foreskin to earn nutrition money in response to the stock market crash. Dr. Tai laughs, "We are not a sperm bank, and we do not have a foreskin donation service." He reminded everyone that the stock market has profits and losses, and we should look at the ups and downs with a normal mind and get through this difficult period together. News highlights the Trump administration's threat of new tariffs sent Apple's stock price tumbling, but it also triggered a panic for iPhones. As Chinese-made iPhones will face tariffs of up to 54%, consumers are flocking to Apple retail stores to buy their phones, fearing higher prices, with some stores selling more than in previous years. Apple has responded by increasing inventories and shifting some production to India, and may ask suppliers to absorb costs. The rush is expected to boost Apple's performance this quarter, but the impact of the tariffs is not expected to be felt until the next quarter. News highlights Bill Gates predicts that with the development of AI technology, work patterns will change completely in the next 10 years, and people may only need to work 2 days a week. He pointed out that AI will take over most of the work, especially professions such as doctors and teachers will be hit hard. Gates believes that AI will drive productivity gains and help address the lack of health and education resources. Still, Gates is optimistic about the potential of AI and encourages young people to get involved in the field as a huge opportunity. At the same time, AI literacy will become a must-have skill in the workplace of the future. News highlights after the historic plunge in Taiwan stocks on the 7th, the opening trading volume surged on the 8th, with an estimated volume of 1.3694 trillion yuan, causing the brokerage order system to be unable to operate normally. Although the estimated volume has since fallen slightly to 1.1 trillion yuan, the market is still concerned about whether there will be the largest volume in history. Takes-in Investment Advisory pointed out that it should be cautious and it is recommended to observe whether there is a rebound signal. Domestic demand stocks and high-yield stocks are expected to become the focus of the market, and mentioned that if the red K line appears after the opening low, it may be a short-term stable signal. News highlights the Office of the United States Trade Representative, USTR, highlights unfair trade practices in many countries around the world and lists 10 controversial trade practices. China has been named for selling large quantities of Chinese-made U.S. flags, causing losses to U.S. manufacturers, and India's fuel ethanol import restrictions have been criticized. In addition, Japan imposes high tariffs on U.S. seafood, and the European Union's anti-logging norms affect U.S. agricultural exports. Taiwan has also been accused of erecting technical barriers to trade in U.S. vehicles and conducting cumbersome inspections of U.S. beef. The government said it would continue to communicate with the U.S. side to coordinate trade issues. News highlights in response to the recent collapse of Taiwan stocks, Zhou Rongta, head of the administrative agency, said on the 8th that the Financial Supervisory Commission and the central bank had conducted a full analysis of the situation in advance, but whether to launch the National Security Fund is not a decision of the Taiwan authorities, but needs to be based on professional judgment, time, and the situation of all parties, and make the right decision at the appropriate time. He also mentioned that the FSC and the stock exchange had taken measures before the stock market fluctuated, and thanked them for effectively curbing speculative airdrops, and pointed out that Taiwan's fundamentals are currently sound, and he hopes that the stability of the economy will be further reflected in the stock market. News highlights the Trump administration's tariff policy has caused shocks to Taiwan's stock market and companies, and Taiwan has been subject to a reciprocal tariff of 32%, which has attracted widespread attention. Aid Director Gu Lian proposed that Taiwan can improve its trade deficit by cooperating with the United States in energy and supporting U.S. reindustrialization. The Blue Commission's suggestion that Taiwan restart nuclear power could be one of the strategies to reduce the deficit, and it could be used to strengthen energy cooperation with the United States and create more economic opportunities for Taiwan. News highlights: in April, Taiwanese stock ETFs will distribute dividends of 19.773 billion yuan, and 19 ETFs, including CUNY Taiwan Select High Dividend, 00919, will distribute the most, reaching 10.6 billion yuan. Although Taiwan stocks have been volatile recently, these dividends will inject capital into the market and help stabilize the stock market. Experts suggest that medium to long-term investors can use dividend reinvestment to reduce costs, and respond to market volatility with a strategy of buying in batches, which still has the potential for long-term returns. News highlights: the United States is about to impose reciprocal tariffs, and China has chosen to fight back, saying that it will accompany it to the end. China will impose 34% tariffs on all U.S. goods and tighten rare earth export controls, further escalating the threat to the United States. Experts believe that China is well prepared for a trade confrontation and seeks to reduce its dependence on the U.S. market, a trade war that could cause more damage to the U.S. economy. News highlights: actress Lin Qitong yesterday shared her son's wound behind the ear, diagnosed with atopic dermatitis, and revealed that her two sons have been fighting allergies for a long time. She also admitted that she began to have allergies when she reached middle age and experienced allergies with her children. Her post struck a chord with many netizens, saying that she had similar problems at home. Lin Qitong reminded that allergy symptoms need to be handled with caution, and shared suggestions for using moisturizing products to improve, and lamented the troubles and helplessness of allergies. News highlights: Yusheng released a video on the social platform last night, 7th, to announce his comeback, and confessed to apologize, which attracted attention from the outside world. Lawyer Li Yijin questioned his choice to release the video at a time when the stock market was in a downturn and social mood was low, and criticized him for choosing this timing as a comeback declaration, believing that his actions were intentional. She pointed out that Yusheng said that he was distributing films for the ocean, public welfare, and children, but he seemed to be stepping on the wounds of the victims, and stressed that he should avoid appearing on the stage again. News highlights: Taiwan stocks crashed yesterday, 7, and many shareholders suffered heavy losses, but some female netizens shared that her mother-in-law earned more than 1 million in the stock market, and successfully bucked the trend as futures S&P crude oil anti-1, with a profit margin of 21.1%. The incident sparked heated discussions, and netizens were amazed by her mother-in-law's investment vision, calling her a godman or prophet, and speculating whether her work was based on accurate predictions of the market or other special methods. The netizen revealed that her mother-in-law is 60 years old, and this futures investment has been in place for less than a year. News highlights: Brotherin, a well-known internet celebrity, was recently accused of domestic violence by his girlfriend's younger brother after his girlfriend's death, which attracted attention. Brotherin clarified on social media that he was willing to cooperate with the judicial investigation. Yesterday, 7th, Angie's large billboard was splashed with paint by a man, and the suspect expressed dissatisfaction with Angie's online remarks and splashed paint in retaliation. After investigation, the police arrested the suspect and sent him to the police for intimidation and damage. Anko clarified the allegations of domestic violence, emphasizing that the incident was caused by accidentally injuring his girlfriend during the conflict, and called for respect for the judicial investigation. News highlights: Miali Beishat and Gongtian Palace Mizzou will set off on May 1 for incense, which is expected to take 10 days and 9 nights, attracting more than 250,000 people to sign up, far exceeding expectations. The temple prepared 230,000 pieces of incense clothes, and all of them were distributed a week after the registration opened. Due to the shortage of related equipment and items, Gongtianggong announced that it would suspend registration for 4 days from April 8 and resume registration at 8 a.m. on April 12. Each registered believer can receive armbands, incense clothes, and other equipment, and transcribe their names to the auspicious Wencha to pray for blessings. News highlights: due to the impact of Trump's tariff policy, Taiwan stocks fell sharply at the opening of today, 8th, falling below 19,000 points at the opening, reaching a minimum of 18,316 points, and TSMC fell to 797 yuan. In the face of the heavy fall in the stock market, many shareholders chose to sell to reduce their losses, but lawyer Lin Heekin reversed the situation and issued a document saying that although the salesperson asked him if he was wrong, he did buy it, and asked about the calm mood of the market. This statement sparked heated discussions among netizens, with one group supporting the reverse approach and the other group believing that the market should wait for the market to stabilize before buying. News highlights: the Taichung Municipal Bureau of Labor will hold the Fu City Taichung Employment Success China Science Park Employment Expo on April 12, which will be held on the first floor of the China Science and Technology Administration from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The recruitment campaign was attended by 22 companies, including Silicon Precision, Sudong Machinery, and AUO, providing more than 1,000 job vacancies with salaries of up to 88K. The city also provides resume health checks, interview skills guidance and XR zones to help job seekers enhance their competitiveness. News highlights U.S. President Donald Trump threatened on April 7 that if China does not withdraw the 34% retaliatory tariffs, it will impose 50% tariffs from April 9 and terminate all negotiations. China's state-run Global Times responded strongly, criticizing the U.S. for abusing tariffs to exert pressure, saying that the U.S. actions violated WTO rules and undermined the global trade order and supply chain stability. China claimed that it had sufficient confidence to deal with the pressure, stressed that it would take countermeasures, and called on the U.S. side to return to negotiations on an equal and mutually beneficial basis. A trade war is on the horizon, and global markets are at risk. News highlights a woman in Japan who calls herself Ryoko Hirose was sent to the hospital in a car accident on the evening of the 7th, and it was reported in the early morning of the 8th that she attacked the nurse in the hospital, causing injuries to the other party and being arrested by the police. The woman's appearance matches Ryoko Hirose, and the police are confirming her identity. The accident occurred in Shizuoka Prefecture when a small car driven by a woman collided with a large trailer, and the front of the car was seriously damaged, and she was not drunk driving. Ryoko Hirose recently returned to the showbiz and performed in Taiwan, but unexpectedly attracted attention again due to the incident. News highlights a few days ago, Zhou Rongta, the premier, invited the three leaders of the ruling and opposition parties to discuss the state of the country, but before the meeting began, Cai Jianming, the chief summoner of the Democratic Progressive Party, was dissatisfied with the seating arrangement of Fu Kunking, the chief summoner of the Kuomintang, to sit in the C seat, and a dispute broke out. Despite Chuk Wing-tai's attempts to mediate, Cai Jianming was still dissatisfied and left the scene for a while. In the end, Zhang Lijun, the deputy head of the administrative agency, took the initiative to exchange seats with Cai Jianming, and the dispute subsided. After the meeting, Cai Jianming once again stressed that he could not tolerate Fu sitting on the throne. In this regard, Zhou Rongta said in an interview that as the inviter, the executive yuan will ensure that every participant can feel comfortable, and emphasized that the government is one, and the discussion of current issues is the most important thing. News highlights in the face of the 32% tariffs by the United States, Li Qiang announced that he would expand his purchases from the United States to reduce the trade deficit and asked the Ministry of Defense to submit a list of military purchases. Defense Minister Gu Liqiang said that the military procurement plan will focus on four aspects: asymmetric combat capability, defense resilience, reserve combat capability and gray zone attack and interference in accordance with the needs of defense operations, and will announce the details after the completion of the project construction process and the approval of the budget. He stressed that military investment will prioritize defense needs and adjust budgets in a timely manner to respond to enemy situations. News highlights Chinese media reported that Microport, the first joint venture company invested by Microsoft, will cease operations on the 8th and lay off about 2,000 employees. The report pointed out that the decision is related to the trade tensions between the United States and China, but Microsoft has denied that it will stop operations in China and said that it should be consulted directly about the issue of Microport. Founded in 2002, Microport has operations in China, the United States, Europe, and Japan, with more than 10,000 employees worldwide. News highlights Japanese actress Ryoko Hirose was in a car accident on April 7, and after being sent to the hospital, she was emotionally uncontrollable and violent to a nurse, and was arrested by the police for assault. The agency confirmed that the woman was Ryoko Hirose on the 8th and announced that she would suspend all entertainment activities for reflection. According to reports, the car accident occurred in Shizuoka Prefecture, and after the two were taken to the hospital, Ryoko Hirose kicked and scratched a nurse in the hospital, and the police then arrived at the scene to deal with it. News highlights the weather will be highly variable this week, with the front approaching on the night of the 9th, and there will be brief rain or thunderstorms in the north, and then the front will affect the 10th, bringing a high chance of rainfall, and there may be heavy rain in the north of the center. On Saturday the 12th, another front passed, and the rain was widespread, with rain in almost all of Taiwan. The meteorological department predicts that after the front on Sunday the 13th, the northeast monsoon will strengthen, the northern and northeastern parts will become cooler, and the rainfall will gradually decrease, and there will still be localized brief rain in other areas. News highlights on the evening of the 6th, Liao Kaiyuping, the mayor of Ziluo Town, and Zhang Lishan, the magistrate of Yunlin County, had a sedan chair robbery, which attracted attention. It was originally scheduled that Zhang Lishan would be in charge of the sedan chair, but Liao Kaiyuping suddenly squeezed into the position, and the two sides had an argument. Zhang Lishan complained that she could not take pictures, and Liao Kaiyuping thought that she also had the right to take pictures. Folklore expert Liao Dai said that snatching a sedan chair violates the rules of heaven and may affect official fortunes and future elections, and warned Liao Kaiyuping's behavior, believing that even an apology is irreparable. News highlights U.S. President Trump's 32% high tariff policy on Taiwan caused Taiwan stocks to fluctuate violently, hitting the largest drop in history on the 7th, and plummeting more than 900 points at the opening on the 8th. Xie Junhee, chairman of Kagzon Media, believes that although the stock market situation is pessimistic in the short term, this may be a turning point. He quoted Zhang Xi as saying that the artificial bear market created by Trump should not be alarmed, and Taiwan's fundamentals are strong, especially in terms of exports and profit-making performance. Taiwan stocks have strong fundamental support this year and still have potential in the long term. News highlights U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff war has triggered global stock market turmoil. Some companies have been unable to maintain operations, and it is rumored that a major technology company in Taiwan has carried out a second wave of layoffs. According to the employee's revelations on Card, he was notified of layoffs less than 2 months after joining the company, and revealed that the layoffs of large factories were mainly aimed at employees who had jumped from foreign companies. The employee also shared that he was facing the pressure of high mortgages and household expenses, and although he escaped this wave of layoffs, the situation was still difficult, and the incident sparked online discussions.